Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Going Out, Looking In, the podcast about the big questions of life, personal growth, and spirituality. My name is Maxi, I'm your host, and look around, guys. Welcome to my temporary new place. I am so grateful and happy, and my heart is so open for how my life turned out over the course of the last couple of weeks. So many miracles and beautiful synchronicities taking place, and I couldn't be more excited to spend the summer on Sylt, a island on the northern tip of Germany with unbelievable beaches. Really, make sure to follow me on Instagram. I might post one or two pictures here and there or more, and it's really a testament to trusting into the flow of life that led me here. I was completely broken and at the bottom, and I couldn't see the light of day, and I didn't think that after Potsdam and after the place we let go of the place, I would be able to find something as beautiful and as quickly as I did now. And I just was once more reminded that the universe has your back no matter what, and it really depends on how you navigate adversity and how you look at it. It's happening all for you, and this is way easier said than done, but I have done it now again to overcome this difficult situation, and look where I'm at right now. It's just, I'm so grateful and happy. So with that energy, I start into this new chapter, and I start into this episode. And today I'm speaking with Franziska Block, aka franziflows, and that was a beautiful conversation, everybody. I met Franzi through a common friend, and we were put in touch, and from her social media presence alone I was getting very good energy, and I was feeling very comfortable with being in touch with her and potentially working with her on any sort of level. And so we did a Theta Healing session quite shortly after we initially connected, which was unbelievably powerful for me. And I cannot emphasize enough that the relationship to the practitioner and to the person who guides you is very important. And for me, Franzi did a fantastic job in guiding me through and connecting me to my subconscious with Theta Healing. And so I was really honored to have spent the time with her and to be introduced to her work. She is, that being all said, a Theta Healing practitioner. She's also educating people in Theta Healing. She's hosting retreats. She's a yoga teacher. She is a Tantra teacher and a writer and poet. And I would really highly recommend to follow her on Instagram at franziflows, because her play with the words and pictures and colors and graphics and her creativity is just very beautiful to witness. And she is just one of those people where you understand that she knows things and she understood a lot about life and healing and the deeper aspects of this human experience. And she does share many of that stuff through her work in those disciplines and techniques. And so we talked a lot about Theta Healing. We talked about the feminine and masculine polarity relationships. We talked about emotions and feelings, and yeah, just life. I'm just getting out of this conversation and I'm just like tuning into what did we talk about. Yeah, we talked about love as well. What is that, and how can we just live in harmony with ourselves? Because it's always reconnecting, guys. It's always about reconnecting to who you are, just remembering. We just forgot. Let's remember who we are. Yeah. And it's what Franzi's doing with her work, and I'm very thankful to have her on the show. And with all that being said, guys, I wish you a beautiful episode. Happy listening. And as always, pass on the word, share the podcast with people, rate and like it, and subscribe and comment. Let me know what you think, really. Please. Also, Franzi actually said that. Reach out. Yeah, would mean a lot to us because we are just talking here. So, if it does something for you, let us know. It really means a lot. All right. That being said, happy listening and much, much love from my heart to yours. Yeah, I'm very, very happy about the connection to you and how that came to be. It's funny because you actually shared that with me as well when you said that it's funny how I basically sort of like came into your life, and it's the same for me, really, I have to say, through the common friend of ours, Julia, who connected us. Greetings. It's really, really nice, and I have to say, Franzi, that like the Theta session that we did, it's really the whole Theta thing is for me like something that came into my life before we met, but not too long before that, and it's just something I wasn't really aware of at all, and then all of a sudden it's just everywhere. Like it's, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And yeah, particularly our session, it really did a lot for me. And it's also very funny because this is like a full circle moment in terms of me being now here on the island, and really yesterday, for example, having one of the best days I had in months, because I'm coming out of such a dark shadow space and period, and so I had a beautiful day, and I was just so much reminded, because I spent the whole day outside and I was really connected to nature, that I am guided and that I am connected, and that it's the universe and like life has my back, and it's okay, and I'm safe, and I can trust. And those are all things, why I'm saying that is because those are all things that came up for me in the reading that we did when I was in the midst of the shadow and I was lacking a little bit of trust. And so yesterday was just a beautiful reminder that, in dark times, if you can connect to some degree of light and love and trust, even though it's really hard, it's really worth it as well. And it will obviously, everything happens automatically and life goes on. And most of the time, pain is temporary and it will fade away, and other times will come, and people, places and circumstances will change. But it's really like sort of like how you deal with those tough moments, and if you are able to connect to the light and the trust and God throughout all of those difficulties. So that was something that your session and you in particular did for me, and so I just wanted to say thank you. And it's really special, the work that you are doing. So that's what I wanted to start this conversation off with.
Thank you. Thank you a lot. Yeah, I think to me it is also an act of surrender and devotion to really bring yourself into, if you call it the shadow, the darkness, or the struggle. This morning it was really funny. I was in the forest with my dog, and on the path there was this little bug. It was on the back, and the legs were going wild. They were like crazy, like it couldn't walk anymore. And I tried to pick this little buddy up, but the legs were going so wild that it would fall to the side again all the time, because it was so mad, or I don't know, scared. But then at some point, maybe it was trust, or it was just resignating, I don't know. But then it stopped moving, and then I could turn it and it could walk again. So sometimes it's just letting go of the resistance, of pushing against, just being okay with even the darkness, the feeling of being stuck. And then, as you said, that the universe has your back. Someone comes and flips you over, and there you go again, Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really it's all a reflection. It's really what we put out into this world, we will get back. We will get reflected back, that frequency. It's so powerful. So anyway, that I'm so deep already inside.
I know.
So, yeah, I would love to, because you're doing so many amazing things, and so I think a good place to start would be to really open up the space completely and let you, in your own words, a little bit go into your context, what our listeners will, might be helpful for them to sort of understand where you're coming from and what your context is, and what it is that you're currently working on and with, and then from there on we can go deeper into the different parts of your work and your human.
I love that. Let's do this. To start with, I still struggle to find the right words. Just last night, so I love writing, which is a huge part of what I do. I wrote, I don't know how many pages about trying to find the words for what I do, who I am. But, as we're ever changing, ever shifting, it's really hard to put you in a box, and I don't want to be put in a box. So always like, how do I explain this? But still, I'm sure we can figure this out together and then give people at least an idea of what it is that I do. So what I just came to realize, and it took me a while to do so, is that whatever I do, and as you said, it is a lot, it is all towards one goal, and that is to experience God, the divine, within and without. And it feels really brave to say so, because here, like, being faithful, believing in God is weird, or connected to all these, like, heavy beliefs and restrictions and I don't know, all the conditioning around religion and God. So for me, it took a while to actually admit that, hey, I believe in God. I believe in the divine, in the source, and you can give it whatever name, actually. Like, be it God, or I know people who call her the great pussy in the sky, or, I don't know, the spaghetti monster. Like, call it whatever you want to. It doesn't matter. Right. But let's go back to what I do to experience this. So I'm trained in different, let's call it techniques, but to me, they're all just channels to experience this divine spark. So one of my main focuses is Theta Healing, as you said. So I'm trained to give sessions, but I'm also a teacher. So I'm educating people how to work with this technique with themselves and with people. which is amazing. I love this. It is so much fun in it, yet it's so deep. Like, you experience it. It is just like 60 minutes, 70 minutes, and you're like, whoa, where did this come from? But it all comes from within. And to me, it's an act of remembrance. It's all about remembering who we are and where we came from. Like the very beginning, before everything happened, like kindergarten, school, people telling us how we have to be and who we have to be. You know, it's all going back to the beginning, where you were just you in the purest, most sparkling way. Or, I don't know, maybe it was very modest, and that is fine too, you know? Some people, they are like, woof, and other people, they're like down to earth, and that is beautiful too. We need all of these people. But then society comes and they want us to be successful and working a lot, or, I don't know, full-time moms, or whatever it is they want us to be, and we adapt to it, and then we kind of lose connection to ourselves. And that's part of what I do with Theta Healing. I basically guide people back to the source, the beginning, to decondition, to become who they are. So it's not about becoming a different person. It's actually becoming you. Yeah. So that's Theta Healing, which is amazing. It works a lot with the mind, and I love that. I think a lot. My mind is the best example for the busy monkey mind that we're also familiar with. Oh my God, this mind is talking all the time. And I love that with Theta Healing. It's like stretching out. I can widen my mental horizon, and I can break free through all these walls that I have within my mind. I can understand and I can explain. And I think a lot of people need that these days, because that's also something we learn in school. You know, we learn to think from here, but not from here. Thus, Theta Healing combines both of this, of course. We can't work with the mind without working with the heart. So I really love that. Yet it is a very mental approach, which is why I also use yoga, and especially Tantra yoga, but also Tantra ceremonies and couple work to experience the divine within the body, throughout the body. And that is just, it's one thing to think about it, to imagine it, but to really feel it within your body. You know, people have something to grasp. They have something to work with. And to me, it's not just the body or just the mind or just the heart. It's all of it. We can't exclude one. And that's, sometimes I struggle with people in the spiritual bubble or in the coaching bubble. They're like, one breathwork session and everything will be changed. It's not just breathwork. It's therapy or Theta Healing or hypnosis or Reiki and yoga and breathwork and ecstatic dance. And I don't know, maybe a sex positive festival. You need all of these elements to feel all the aspects that you are, because you are unlimited essence and you have so many different aspects that want to live and be expressed and felt and witnessed. And you can't just do it one way, because then the other parts are missing, right? Yeah. So these are like three main elements of my work. Yet they expand into directions that I often can't think of. Like last year, I held a free cacao wedding ceremony for friends. We were like 70 people. It's nothing that I like thought I would do. Like, yeah, I'm going to marry people. But then it just happened, you know? People would ask me like, hey, what do you think about like being our wedding priestess? I was like, oh, hell yeah, let's do this. So sometimes I do these things, or retreats and workshops with a different essence. And also that's something that I'm still figuring out how to combine with all of this, is writing. Like, there's a major part of me that just wants to write all day. That just imagines being an author, sitting outside in nature all day, drinking cappuccino after cappuccino and writing books. But then the experience is missing too. So, life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Many
Yeah.
words though.
Yeah, but I had it actually funny because I talked about it yesterday with a friend of mine, and it's really like when communication and using words and like speaking with people, it's no matter how articulate you are, there are so many filters on it to communicate something that is coming from my heart, and or from my essence and from my inside, and then basically it goes up to my computer up here, and through the language I learned and the words that I can use, and like I said, the range is so broad from the amounts and the ability that I can, and the resources that I can get back to as an individual. So my vocabulary, where I was growing up, my conditioning, all of that basically influences how I'm able to put together what I feel inside and what I know already. And then I speak it out, and then also like the speaking out itself in terms of like my tonality and my accent and dialect, all of that comes on top, and the flavor, and then it basically comes over to you, and you receive it then through all of your filters and all of your conditioning and all of that, and then it resonates with you in a way or not. And that's how we communicate. Like, that's how we communicate on a verbal, like, level. And that's why I so much loved the book, or I just love him in general, like Matthew McConaughey, like the actor, and his book also Green Lights, because he said when he's writing, and the book, like when he was writing Green Lights, basically it's the complete antidote to him making a movie, because in a movie there is him, okay, so like there's his preparation for the role and how he is basically coming up with a character, and he puts that out in a performance. But then there's a camera, then there's an editor, then there's like technical equipment and like post-production, then there's filters, then there's like all of that, then there's like a cinema with speakers and sound and audio, and then there's people there and maybe they are talking, so you, and all of that is basically then coming together as one piece, and you're like taking it in. But the essence from where he started, when he's writing, it's so much more direct, like it's so much less distorted, and that's what I so much resonated with, and what I just had to think of when you were sharing what you were sharing. And basically where I first wanted to go is Theta Healing, because it's actually, I find it very interesting that what you said, and that you brought up the mind, because yes, my mind is also like very active, very alive, and for me, Theta Healing was just my experience. For me, it was like it's like the best tool to get basically out of my head, or not out of my head, but basically connect to something that is not accessible via my mind, which is the subconscious and the truth, that I otherwise would, or shadow, things that I hide, repress, and deny, and that I don't want to see, or that I maybe want to see but I can't and access because I'm blocked or something, and my cognition is in the way. And that's why Theta Healing, for people who are thinking so much and who are like, I don't know, really up in their heads, for me was like a perfect tool for that. But that's only my experience, and you are the professional, so I would be a little bit curious on if you can go a little bit deeper into what Theta Healing is for you, and why is this, how basically does it work a little bit maybe, and what are the benefits of working with Theta Healing?
Okay. So what it is for me is ever changing. Like first it was like from where I started, I was just feeling overwhelmed by life, but also by myself, by my emotions, by my thinking, by just everything. And then a friend said, try this. I think you're going to love it. Because what it did for me, and I think what it can do for everybody who's open, really open to receive the magic, the new perspectives, is it brings the power back. Because what happens is that most people, they walk through life and they think they're a victim. You know, people do things to them and life happens to them. And what changes through Theta Healing for me is life happens for me, but not to me. Life happens for me. Life is for me. To many people, it's just a tool. You know, you can have a session or maybe even a training. To me, it became a lifestyle, a philosophy that basically connects everything I do, everything I am. It's a new baseline for life. Maybe that's an explanation for it. There's no day without Theta Healing. Even when I don't teach or don't give a session, it's still there, because to me, it's a way of connecting to God, to the divine, to asking questions and receiving answers, to working with whatever is there. But maybe we should go a bit into like the work of Theta Healing, so people can understand better, because now these are just like big words, great visions. So the name comes from the theta brainwave. That's why we call it Theta Healing. And the theta brainwave is a very smooth, calm brainwave. So when you go into this state of the theta wave, it is like a deep relaxation, deep state of meditation. And this is where you connect to the subconscious, which is in daily life not that visible. It is always there, but we don't really use it. I think there are statistics that say that we process about, I think it's around 50 impulses per second, but there are around 50 million impulses every second, but we can't like consciously work with it because we would be blown away. So we have all these filters, and this is what Theta Healing does. It just helps us like navigate through these filters to really access what's underneath, all the layers, all the wisdom, the belief systems. Like you said, this is like a supercomputer, and it works with algorithms and it uses what's there, but there's so much more underneath, and with Theta Healing we can access that. So maybe people are asking now, but why would we want to access that? So what we believe in Theta Healing is that we are basically made of belief systems. These can be any kind of sentences, like I am enough, but it could also be I am not enough. It could be the sky is blue, right? The sky is blue is also a belief system, and we all work with it. We agree on it. This is how we can agree on weather, or especially on good weather. The sky is blue, the sun is out, right? Good weather. So we have all these belief systems, and they help us in daily life. They help us navigate. They help us react and act in life. But there are also a lot of belief systems that might limit us, that might block us. So if you think I am small, or it is dangerous to love, then so let's talk about resonation, the law of resonance. That's a word. The law of resonance for a second. So, you know, there's a huge magnetism out there, and whatever we have in here comes to us from the outside, and the other way around. And so if we think that the belief systems also work that way, if I think I'm small, I will most likely attract situations that give me proof that I'm small. So that could be a work situation where I have a colleague or even a superior person who's always making me feel guilty or bad, telling me what I did wrong, or giving me so much work to do that I feel like flooded on work or whatever it is. And I'm like, oh my God, what do? I'm just a small little person, whatever. I don't have any impact on life. So, and this is not because the universe, God, doesn't like you. It just answers to what you think is true, which is also an important thing to say. Like, the belief systems are only what we think is true, which is good because we can change. We can change what we think. We can change what we believe. And this is basically what Theta Healing does. It helps you to shift those, let's say, negative belief systems into positive ones, into ones that actually work for you. Like, I am enough, I am brilliant, I am majestic. Like, to allow yourself to think of you in the greatest way possible. Because we always learn how to keep it small, but we don't learn to dream big, right? And to me, Theta Healing helps you, supports you to dream big again, and to actually allow yourself to love yourself. Because we don't get taught in school to love ourselves. We get taught to get better. But we don't learn about emotions or, I don't know, soft skills. Yeah. And what also helps, and that to me is the difference to, let's say, normal therapy, which is very cognitive. You know, it's always like distinguishing with the mind. It's all nice. And actually, I love working with people who come from therapy because they have it all sorted out. They have their files here and there. They can explain where everything comes from, but it's still connected on an energetic level. And for them, it just helps to really go into it with Theta Healing, maybe one session, maybe twice, to disconnect and to also see what was the benefit of all of this. What did I get out from this? And this is a question that in the first place triggers a lot of people. You know, if something bad happens, like, I don't know, you lose a person, you're like, how can there be anything good about this? But so the way that we perceive it in Theta Healing is that there are things, lessons, abilities that you learn in every situation, or that you remember through these situations. So maybe when you lose a person, you learn support, because suddenly there's so many people supporting you. And maybe before in life, you were always fighting for yourself, by yourself. You were just walking through life by yourself. Then you lose a person. And then out of a sudden, people come, they support you, they bring you meals, they ask you how to be there for you. And maybe that's why you experience this loss. And it's not to say that like it's a good loss or whatever. It's just seeing that there's always something good happening at the same time. And sometimes it's hard for us to see in the very moment. But then looking back a little bit later, we can. And to me, that's the magic. And it picks me out of this situation where I feel like a victim, where life happens to me and I realize life happens for me. And there's always a gift. There's always some miraculous thing, a momentum, just a little spark, something I can take out of this, something that enables me to grow even more, to be me even more, like that. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. And I want to add that from my personal experience, and this is like I was stumbling across a video from Stefan Harding, and I will have him on the show as well, which I'm very excited about. He's a professor at Schumacher College in the UK, and he's talking a lot about the interconnectedness of everything and all beings, and Gaia and spirituality and consciousness in nature as well. And basically, what he said is, feeling is another way of knowing. There is nothing. Cognitive knowing is not superior to feeling, and therefore, like, feeling is another way of knowing. You know. When you feel something is right for you, you know it. You know it in the same capacity and with the same power as you do when you would say, I know it up in my head. And that is what I got out of the session that I did with you and with Theta Healing, was that I know. And this is not because I know it in my head. It's because I know it in... Okay, now I have to use one word. What is that? Myself, yes, my God within me, my essence, whatever. I know and I felt that I am, for example, in my case, the takeaway was that I am enough, and that I am loved, and that I am guided, and that I can trust in life, and that it's, like you say, happening for me. And I just wanted to really emphasize that so much, that for me Theta Healing was just it was exactly doing what you said, like those belief systems, but on a like very deep on the deepest level that I've ever experienced, like in my essence. And when you, and that is why because like we are having a conversation where we use words, and which is happening on a certain frequency, but Theta Healing is just, for me, on a completely different like level. It's just like so much deeper, and you just know. I don't know, I cannot even describe it. You know with every fiber of your being what is happening. And therefore, like those shifts, like you say, they are not happening, I don't know, I think they're happening from inside out, apart from compared to they're happening from outside, and then I internalize. They're happening really like, it's, you know it very deep inside, and therefore you change your demeanor, your behavior, your ways of going about things in the world. But it's coming from a very deep place within. And I have the feeling with cognitive therapy, or with like speaking therapy, where I'm like verbally talking to a therapist, it's also a lot of information that I'm processing, and therefore I can analyze things, and I can change my behavior, and I can change my way of thinking mainly, and I can categorize it differently. But that's like that's such a beautiful like work, and also I also want to make another compliment also to you in particular, because with Theta Healing I really feel like that it's so important that you connect with the person you're working with. In that case, it was you, like you were guiding me, and the trust that I had in you, although I don't know you, and this is like just or at the time I didn't know you basically at all. So that's the thing, like because it's happening not on a human, like on that kind of level where we just meet every day. It's just happening way like deeper, and therefore I didn't have to know like I knew your name, but that's about it. And therefore, like a lot of that stuff was completely unnecessary, but I was just like connecting to you, and therefore I was trusting you, and I could then go deep within myself, and it's just like a capability that you have. And that's what I also wanted to say one more time, that
Thank
it was
you.
just really beautiful, and you're doing very beautiful work. Yes.
Thank you. It's a very warm, loving compliment. And yet I think also this is something that everybody carries within. You know, this amount of openness and trust and comfort. And to me, it was also something that was buried under layers and layers of so much pain and hurt. And what all these trainings that I have done, and I have done quite a lot in 2 years. Let's not count them. They're a lot. But so I've been in these teachings and these trainings, and what you do there is you open up to strangers and you talk about the most painful, the most shameful situations you have ever experienced. And you learn that it's okay, that you don't get judged, that you don't get looked at. Nobody laughs at you. At least they will laugh with you, but just in the ending when you're like cool with it again or whatever. That's also something that I like. Of course, the sessions, they can be heavy, they can be tearful, but often they are very light and joyful, and you laugh about things that usually you get really tight when talking about. But this new perspectives that helps you to really open up, to crack open and just be okay with whatever is there. And it's just a magic that I take to daily life, and that just touches every conversation that I have, every connection that I have. And this is the way I want to live. You know, I want to connect with people from the heart, not from the mind. And the mind is a great tool. That's also something that I love about the work that I do, because there are spiritual schools that want to overcome the mind, you know, that want to get rid of the mind. I don't want to get rid of the mind. The mind is brilliant. I'm really happy I have a mind. But what I'm also myself still working on is to have the mind translating whatever is in my heart, you know? So it is like a catalyst for my heart, but not the other way around. Because what we do is we make decisions from here. We act from here, but we should do it from here, from the body, from the heart. But society doesn't support us in deciding from here, in intuitive decisions, in intuitive information. That's actually something that happened to me in school so many times. I just knew things. I just had the information. I could give the answer. But if a teacher asked me why, I was like, I don't know. And then they always thought I cheated. I was accused of cheating so many times in school. Because we don't believe or trust in intuition anymore. You know, it's something we put away. We're like, yeah, those hippies with those dreadlocks, those weirdos, you know, and the intuitive soul. But actually, this is where the wisdom that also you talked about, you know, this knowledge, this I know, this is the intuition, and this is your individual connection to God, which always was there, always will be there. It is here, and we can access it. And it doesn't need any witchcraft or rituals or blood or anything weird to do this. It doesn't even need you to sacrifice a part of yourself, or, I don't know, a sheep, you know? You can just access it. You can just say, hey, connect me to God, and there it is, you're connected. Because how can you not be? Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I completely agree, and I so much resonate with that. And I already hear people screaming in the back, you know, of the bus. They're like, "Wow, I'm so disconnected." Like, or they are, in fact. And sometimes I'm disconnected from God within. But it's like the metaphor with the sun, right? Or like the picture with the sun, you know? It's not like the sun is not shining. It's not that God within is not there. It's just like we have the shades down. And so, like, to say, you know, it's not there, well, it is there, but you have the fucking shades down. Like, that's the problem here. And so...
Yeah, so open up.
Open up, yeah, open up. I know.
It's not that hard. Well, sometimes it is, but...
yeah, that's... I guess, yeah, I have so many questions, but yeah, I mean, like, can you... So, like, I guess one answer could be, Theta Healing as a technique or tool to open up the shades. But like, I don't know. I would ask you, like, if somebody was coming to you and says, like, I'm feeling, and I have that with women a lot, who desperately want to, and friends of mine who desperately want to connect to the divine within. So rationally, they completely understood there's a lot more to life than living in and from the mind. And so they desperately, there's actually not much they want more than live from that place and be utterly connected all the time to the divine feminine in that case. So how do we go about that? How do we start when you say it's not that difficult?
I mean, it's an easy but tough one. So it always depends where you come from. Like, for some people it's easier, and for some it just takes a bit more, because process and the evolution of life is different for each one of us. So in general it is easy, but it depends on your willingness. It depends on the decision. Like, you could decide in this moment to be wealthy and rich and whatever it is, but that depends on your readiness for this life and for this version of yourself. And maybe it just takes time, and that's okay. So I think for me what's necessary as well is to stop judging ourselves for where we are at. We judge ourselves, we criticize ourselves all the time. And that's one of the biggest limitations that we could have. It's not other people telling us what we can do and what we can't. It's actually ourselves thinking like, no, I can't do this. What are people going to say? Oh my God, no. What are my parents going to do when I move to Australia? They're going to freak. No, I can't do this. So we limit ourselves because we are so scared of people's reactions. And maybe that's why we're not opening up to God, because people might think we're crazy, or we are afraid that we could lose our family or whatever it is. So something that needs to happen for this is to free ourselves from these dependencies from people's opinions, and maybe even from the love that we're afraid to lose. Like, the love we actually want to experience is unconditional. But in many societies, in many families, love is linked to something. Love is also used as a power tool, When you do something good, you get love. But then if you do something bad, people withdraw the love, and that's painful. And maybe that's why people don't open up. It's a very, very individual question. So I'm really trying to give something for people to work with, but then I would have to have a talk with every individual soul, because we are unique. And to me, that's the beauty also of the work of Theta Healing, because it doesn't put you in a box. Actually, it takes you out of the box and have you look at all of the different aspects that you didn't take a look at before. And then, like, why would it matter if you opened up, like, today or in 2 days? Like, time is an illusion. So it doesn't really matter when you do. The only thing that matters is that you do, whenever that is. And it's okay if it will take 10 years or 20. At least you did at some point. And that's everything. That's the difference,
Yes.
I don't know if that was helpful.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm also trying to say is, like, maybe that's the point. I'm kind of refusing to give a straight answer, is because people, they're like desperately looking for answers, but right now they want me to tell them what's right for them, rather than asking themselves. I'm tired of giving answers. Like, who am I to tell you what's right for you, where you're at? I can guide you. This is also what I do with my work. I'm not the healer. I'm just guiding. I'm maybe creating a room where you can experience yourself. Yeah, that's what I do, and I'm good at that. But I'm not doing the healing work. I'm not giving the answers. I'm just a channel or a guidance or whatever, a facilitator. But the answers, come on, people, start looking within. It's not that hard. Yet it is hard because, life is so busy out there. There are so many things we are constantly reacting to. There's the smartphone, there's so many people depending on where you live, of course. Like if you live in a big city, it's different. Like right now, I'm in a small village, so it's a little easier here. But like if you're in Hamburg or Berlin, or I've even lived in Hong Kong for a while, like life is crazy there. So there are so many moments of stress and information, like it's an overload. So of course sometimes it gets hard to tune in. That's why it's always important to unplug. And again, whatever that means to you it's different than to me. Like some people, they need a quiet room, no devices, that's unplugging. For me, it's like maybe going for a run in nature or whatever that is. But yeah, it is just about finding your room to actually receive the answer that is here inside of you. Yeah. So maybe that's why I'm not going to tell people like, this is the way, take the right, the left, and then you're there, because no, that's not how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually very funny for me as somebody who's like hosting like a podcast every week, when I'm coming up with like titles for the episodes and I'm writing like the show notes and I'm cutting reels and all of this kind of promo material kind of stuff. And I'm coming from marketing, so it's like natural for me to tune into this kind of thing. But at the same time, because basically I would like to put out an episode, and it's basically just a picture of the person, not even a name. I don't know, actually. It's just like, here, like, this is this person I had a conversation with. Listen to it. And
it's
then,
good.
Yeah. Or I don't know. I don't know. Like, basically, people, like, start trusting my judgment, and basically they say, okay, like, I think, like, this guy, he has, like, I don't know. He's curious about other people and about life and whatever. And I trust his judgment on who he's having on the podcast and what the people that he's talking to have to say. However, then there comes this aspect of like, okay, how am I going to name the episode so it has like a catchy sort of title and it ends as like the 5 best techniques to overcome anxiety, or this tool will help you to reduce stress, or how can we reconnect to our soul, or whatever. But I found that the more like this thing is going on, it's really, I don't know, like I do it just because I need to fill something in the title space, but there's so much more happening, and I really resonate with what you were saying. It's about taking fucking responsibility for yourself, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Like, because that's, yeah. But this is, I don't know. I mean, I completely understand. Like, I can definitely sort of like retrace where this behavior comes from, because our whole system is basically built upon that. Is that we have an energy exchange happening most of the time with money, where we can give money and we get something. We get a solution to a problem, and when it's health related, it's medicine in terms of a pill. I don't want to change my behavior. I want to still eat Big Macs and fries, but I have fucking high cholesterol, so I want, for my money that I paid, I want a pill so I can continue eating Big Macs and fries, but I have lower cholesterol. So this is, I don't know, and the same goes for healing inside. It's just like, healers of the world, tell me what I have to do. And good ones, and people that I also met along the way, they basically end up saying very similar things that you were just saying. It's basically like, well, I can open a door, but like, it's you have to who has to walk through it, and still, however, I think there's a lot that goes into opening that door and holding a space. I mean, that's a completely different cup of tea. Like, I think there's people who do that very well, and I think there's people who are doing a horrible job, because it's a very sensitive thing also. And it's sacred, and it's powerful, and it can hurt people, and it's dangerous as well if you don't do it right. So it comes with a lot of responsibility, but at the same time, each one of us has to do the work on their own. And that's very much resonating with me.
Yeah, it is all about responsibility, and people are so scared to be responsible for their lives. We're amazingly good at judging people or blaming others. My mom didn't love me, and this is why I am this way. My dad was never home, so I have a thing with men. That's why I can't be in a proper relationship. We have explanations, and we have reasons why. But this is, for many people, this is where it ends. This is the ending point. But actually, this should be the start to something new. This should be the initiation to, okay, this is what happened to me in childhood. How do I deal with it today? Like, okay, my mom didn't love me. Do I want to be a person who refuses love too? Oh, okay, so what can I do? It is all about taking responsibility for what happened to the amount that it is your responsibility. At the same time, there's a huge amount of people taking too much responsibility for others, like over-caring, controlling. This is taking too much responsibility because you don't trust people to hold themselves, to decide for themselves. This is what parents do often. When they decide for their children, these kids, they won't learn how to make good decisions, or even failures. What is so bad about failing? So what? You fail and you move on. But they love us. They don't want us to fail, so they decide for us. So as kids, we don't learn how to be responsible. And I see that even with like grown-up people, 50, 60 years old, or even 80 years old, they are still in this game of blaming others and refusing to take responsibility. And in the end, they're mature children, not being able to actually create life. And this is what this is all about, to actually inherit or embody this spark of creation, to understand that every thought that you have, every action that you take, every decision that you make actually manifests the life you want to lead, the life that is most authentic to yourself. And to many people this is scary, but actually this is the beauty of life, because you can decide every moment. You can make a new decision. And if something isn't aligned to what you want or who you are, well, then make a different decision. And that's not a bad thing. But again, in society, people, they nail you to a decision that you have made. But last week you said this. How can you do this now? This doesn't make sense to me. Like, people don't allow us to be flexible, which shouldn't matter, because we should allow ourselves to be dynamic, to be flexible, to like decide and then redo this decision and decide again. Like, often this is why people don't manifest, because what if my manifestation becomes true and I don't like it anymore? Yeah, so what? Then you give it away, or you change it, you recreate it. Like, life is ever changing. Work with it, not against it. Create with it, through it, and take responsibility for it. And it becomes a beautiful dance, and it's a lot of fun, and sometimes it hurts, but the fun should be the bigger part to me.
Yeah. I like I think there's like universal truth, and I think this is like what especially when we're talking about this, I think this is universal truth. I think this is just like, that's just how it is, and the choices that we can make. Yes, we can see it either like I'm the victim or I'm the creator. We have that choice. However, I know, and this is also something that I'm getting more and more familiar with, that in my personal journey, I'm really talking about myself now. I just know that I'm unbelievably privileged in terms of, and I don't mean materialistic. I mean, I also mean emotionally and spiritually, to be honest. And what I mean by that is that so first of all, just from my inner makeup, I always had a good connection to the divine within. I didn't have the words for it, but for some reason I could tune in quite directly, and still, like, I had to go through the whole human experience, and I still have like to do so every single day. But the layer is not as thick, I think, as with other people or with some other people. And also, there's no, there is obviously trauma. There's a lot of trauma. But there's definitely not like a major, or maybe several major, in relation to what's going on in the world, things happening in my life or happened where that I need to go through in order to be at the status quo where I can basically meet my divinity inside, to the level that I am right now. And so I got more and more basically aware of that the process is super individual, and for some people it's just the layer is very thick, which doesn't mean that the truth is the truth. It doesn't mean the basic mechanic of like taking responsibility is exactly the same. But I just wanted to underscore that, you know, the journey is as individual as we are as souls and incarnations, and also to be gentle to yourself and on yourself, on where you are, and because sometimes you have to go through a long time, even though, yes, like you said, another universal truth, time is an illusion, but moments of now-ness and when you put them together, it seems like time, but it's always the now. But you have to go through a lot of nows that will bring up shadows, and that you have to work through the shadows first. And that's painful, and that's and it needs assistance as well. Also wanna say that, like, you need to. It's good to seek and ask for help, and so therefore, we're all on the unique paths. But that's what I wanted to add. Was coming up for me.
I love that. I love that. I would even say it is necessary to ask for help. Why would you do all the work? Why would you go all the way by yourself? We are here to connect. We are here because actually this is how we experience ourselves, through others, in relationships. Because I relate to you, I know who I am. You know? So please go out, ask for help or support or whatever it is. Maybe it is just asking for inspiration. You know, surround yourself with people who already are where you want to be. Soak in that energy, soak in the feelings, and just watch yourself grow into this. And as you said, it's just moments of now that are connected. So even if the layers seem to be thick, you could decide to jump from here to there. You know, you could also skip some parts. So who are we to judge the thickness of layers of others? You know, it might seem privileged, but maybe somebody else has this amazingly thick layer, but then there's this spark and it's so intense that out of a sudden this person is enlightened, or however you want to call this. So I have seen miracles happen. Actually, they happen all the time anyway. And it's always just a question of belief, faith, trust, and readiness. And, you know, to me, it's not about never experiencing pain again. It is about the way we deal with it, the perspective we have towards pain, the judgment, or maybe it is more about not judging the pain anymore, to just feel it, to experience it, to give ourselves, to nourish ourselves throughout the pain, to surrender to it, and then to move on. And I think many people are where they are with the amount of stress or pain or problems because they never learned that it is okay to express their feelings and to be with their feelings. You know, this is something that happens all the time. With children, with grown-ups, people cry and everybody is trying to stop them crying because we feel uncomfortable when other people cry. So we want them to stop. But what if they just needed to cry for 10 minutes and then everything was okay again? But what happens is we shut down, and all the emotions, they get stored in the body, and all of this stored emotion, it levels up and it builds momentum, and that could be disease, or that could be just chronic pain. And I think if we establish a new perspective towards feelings and the expression of feelings and the expression of ourselves through feelings, life would be a lot different. A lot different.
I think that's a nice segue into something that I would love to talk to you as well about, and that is feeling and emotions, and yeah, you said earlier something with there's like schools that want to get rid of the mind, they want to skip the mind, or they want to get rid of it. And so I agree with that. I also think so, and I'm personally a victim of that as well. I think I didn't have the best relationship with my mind for some time, especially when I started meditation and when I started to go into monasteries and all that kind of stuff. My intention was to get rid of this voice and completely shut it down. Now it's more conversational, and we hang out sometime and we have a talk, and it's good. And so because basically under the umbrella of I want to talk a little bit about the feminine, and about receiving and tuning into feeling. For me as a man, it's a difficult relationship. That's very personal. That's my personal experience. And I chose difficult because it was. Now it's a beautiful relationship for me to relate to my feelings and to welcome them and to tune into them, because they were always there, but how I related to them was different, or changed. And so I'm seeing like a massive focus and a massive weight on the masculine in our society, which is the whole working environment is heavily masculine influenced, and the feminine and the surrender and the grace and also like feeling and knowing through feeling and connecting to your intuition and to your emotions is a little bit it's under the rug. You know, it's not prioritized, or it's completely unchanneled and uncontrolled. Like you're just drowning completely in emotions, which then, yeah, I mean, okay, like this is. So I would be curious, and I would also be curious on like whatever, maybe that's a different technique than Theta Healing, because I know, yeah, like we discussed, you working also with Tantra and stuff. How do you view this this dynamic currently in the world, especially when it comes to the feminine and women? What do you think is important to say and to be aware of when it comes to connecting to feelings and to emotions? And also for us men, what do you think is important for us, in like for us as men, but then also when we are relating to the feminine as the masculine? I'd be curious.
Okay. So first of all, I want to state that this whole thing with like feeling and receiving and embracing, it is still something that us women learn to. Like, there's this huge movement of feminism and female rights and all of this, but if we actually take a look at this, it is quite funny, because what happened back in the 60s and 70s and 80s and a bit before and afterwards, what did women get? They got the right to vote. They got the right to be in business, in politics. These are all male aspects. So what women actually reached, or what they gained from all of this, is they freed their inner masculine. So women have connected to their inner masculine through all of these things that happened. And what is now happening for them is also embracing the female aspects, that which we call the divine feminine, which also we all have within. Doesn't matter if we're male or female or anything in between, you know, like working with Tantra and polarities is really interesting in these time with all these different genders. And I love this whole movement, yet sometimes it's really delicate to like position yourself working with like Tantra and feminine and the masculine, and then people are like, oh, but how can you divide it? It is more about just, you know, two aspects that actually make something whole, and call it whatever it is. But what I just wanted to say is that us women, we are also still like learning to express feelings, that it is okay, especially in like official contexts, in work, in politics or whatever. I mean, take a look at Angela Merkel, you know. Did she, or does she seem to you like a female woman, like a woman who really expresses her body, her sensuality, her emotions? Not really, right? So what we have here is the masculine in a female body. This is basically everything, which is not a bad thing. It's just something that I wanted to point out, because sometimes people are just like, oh, but men have to learn how to feel. They do. They need to. And I completely support it. I love men with proper emotional expression. This is the greatest gift to this world. A man who can cry, who can be furious and full in rage without hurting others, of course. Yes. You know, like just fully expressive of what is. But so is the same for women. So one of the questions that you asked was, what can men do to like embrace their feelings or whatever? And I think there are numerous ways, like tools or accesses they can find. And again, it's just a question of what works for you. So maybe it's a circle of men sitting together and screaming. Maybe it's a neo-emotional release therapy session, or maybe it's just going out to the woods and screaming, or maybe it is witnessing when crying. Like, there's so many ways. I think it doesn't really matter where you start. Again, it just matters that you start. And sometimes it makes sense to like separate men and women for the beginning of the work, which really depends on, again, where you come from. If you're traumatized because you were raped, then maybe you don't want men in your circle or women in your circle if you have a very painful, hurting experience in your past. Maybe you need the safety, the comfort of same-sex people. But maybe, and this is what I experienced, the real magic to me happened when everything was put together, when I was in tantric circles with both men and women. And when I saw men cry and women screaming and all of this together, because in the end, and that is, to me, it's important to say also when talking about Tantra, because for many people, Tantra is reduced to either sex or polarities, and they are aspects of Tantra, but also Tantra is a mean to explore, to experience the divine, the energy within and without. And emotions are a way to experience the energy, and the polarities, they are helpful. They are helpful for a healing journey. But Tantra is so much more than that. Yet Tantra is a great tool. If you say, like, I want to feel my emotions better, I want to feel my body better. Because this is also something that happens, especially when we talk about sex. Like, and this is where everything comes together. Let's say you have a belief system. So let's bring Theta Healing into this too. You have a belief system saying, I am too much. You think you're too much. And what happens is you reduce yourself with all of your emotions, with all of your desires and dreams. You just like reduce all of this. You limit yourself, you play nice, you play it cool because you don't want to be too much. What happens is, of course, you limit the body and you might become numb. This is where I often start when I work with women. And they say, like, I'm just numb when I have sex, or I don't have a libido. Like, I don't feel joy. I don't feel ecstasy. I think this already gives a great idea of how everything is interconnected. You can't just look at one thing. You have to take all of the different aspects and put them together and readjust them. So if you shift this belief system of I'm too much to I'm everything, or it's safe to express myself, it's safe to express my feelings, whatever works for you, of course. And then you go out and you experience a physical space of whatever that is, love, conscious sex, or just a ceremony of dance, and you experience yourself, you express yourself, and you learn that, hey, it's actually okay, and people love me for this, then you have created a new reality for yourself, a new future, and a new presence. So again, I can't really give advice where to start, because it doesn't really matter. Just take whatever resonates. And this is what you said a bit earlier, like, you don't know from here, but you just know from somewhere here. And for some people it's the heart, for some people it's the stomach or the gut. For some people it's something else. They might feel it in their skin. It doesn't matter. They just know it's right. So whatever is here, and maybe you're just walking around in the next few days and there's something that just sparks within, just do it. And that might be a painting lesson. Maybe that's what you need. Or, I don't know, maybe it's going on vacation, or maybe it's going to a sex positive festival and experiencing something completely out of your like comfort zone. Like, just act and do and live, I guess. Yeah.
When it comes to the I would love to, because there was a very like big topics and big questions that I was asking initially, so I would like to get back to one more thing, or actually that's coming up for me is like that I have the feeling like that so basically I'm spotting like those dynamics as well within society. Okay, we have like this masculine drive, and basically, like you said, we are all basically working on how can we express our emotions and connect to them in a safe way, in a channeled way, in a safe environment, by ourselves or in a group, but basically not uncontrolled. And then basically what I would like to get a little bit more into as well is how, or is that even possible to support each other as well in a relationship? I would also like to talk about that quickly. Like, is how we can support each other in that growth as well, because I feel like, I don't know, I was talking to numerous people about it, and the opinions and the experiences there's like a very broad range of where people are standing, and I would be very curious to hear your take on it. Is it possible to support each other in that, and if so, how could that look like?
Of course it is. Actually, this is actually what we need, is a relationship that is supportive. This is why we should choose a relationship, amongst other reasons, of course, but support, like supporting each other. But in order to experience this, all of us have to take a step back and really take responsibility for our own feelings, our own desires, dreams, and healing journey. So I have to completely own my space, my past, and my future. And so do you. And once we have agreed to this, I am me and you are you. And this is also the gift of a relationship. Me witnessing you in everything that you are, with your shadow and light, with the good and bad, with everything that you bring. This is how I want you, at least in my perspective of relationship. I want your everything. I don't want you to suppress anything. I don't want you to hide. I want to work with your everything. So I need you to take responsibility for your everything. And I commit to doing the same for myself. So this is how I understand a conscious relationship. And this relationship needs support. But it might be supporting you in taking space for yourself. Maybe you're a person who needs time alone. And then my support might be in giving you this space and not being judgmental or relating this to myself and being like, oh, he doesn't love me anymore. He doesn't want to spend time with me. He's rejecting me. No, I'm taking responsibility for my own shit. So if you decide to be by yourself and I'm having these thoughts and these feelings, I'm responsible to deal with it. And of course, we can always come back together and I can share. So when you decided to walk away, I felt hurt or whatever. It is also about transparency and honesty, but without blaming each other and without, I don't know, it's like putting my shit towards you, being like, yeah, it's your fault, basically. Actually, it's also about taking this word and this concept of fault out of a relationship, because it's never about fault, it's never about blaming. It's about a sacred co-creation. It is about an agreement to grow together, to heal together, to love together. But at the same time, we have to understand that we are individuals. And something that happens in many relationships is that people forget that they are themselves. They just think in this we. There's no I, there's no you anymore. There's just this us, this we. And things get mixed up. Feelings and belief systems and arguments and everything just becomes this huge chaos. So sometimes what it needs is like some distance, some time of sorting, to then bring together what really wants to be brought together, what kind of belongs together, maybe. And of course, it is important to know that once you really, really, really get close to someone, once you really open your heart, things will come up. That's just what happens. Triggers come up. Pain comes up. You know, you will feel the hurt again, but this time you have a choice. Who do I want to be in relation to this past? Who do I want to be today? And that can be challenging. But if you have the right person next to you, and right just means that there's someone who's willing to go this way with you, it will be okay, and you will grow together, separately, but together. So, to me, it's a question of growing out of codependency and into co-commitment, into this willingness of taking responsibility for the self, to then really create together what wants to be birthed out of this relationship. And that's a whole new level, a whole new perspective to relationship. Like, I cannot name many relationships of this consciousness and openness and honesty. The relationships, many of the relationships that I know, they seem stuck, and they are stuck in this wheel of blaming, of judging, of feeling like the victim, of power play in a bad way. You know, power play can be fun. If you agree to it, power play can be amazing. But I'm talking about power play that is hurtful, that is painful, that is destructive. And often relationships, they are a pattern that we are used to from childhood. So maybe we are attracting a partner that is similar to our mother or father, or we are reliving the same kind of relationship that our parents had. Maybe our parents were always fighting, so we think, oh, love is fighting, so this is what we do. We keep fighting and fighting and fighting. Or, we're just, I don't know, always worrying about things. So we're always calling our partner, because this is what our mom did. Every time we left the house, she would call us and check in. And there's this whole control mechanism. And this is what we do with our partner as well. So it is also important to actually recognize, be open and honest with yourself to see where some behaviors are coming from. And then deciding if you want to keep it or not. Because not everything that comes from the past is bad. Of course not. We have learned so many beautiful things from childhood, from our parents, from the relationships. Yet there's more to be discovered. There's more that wants to unfold, and we have to open for these new ways of relationship. And therefore we need to let go to at least some amount of our past. Because otherwise we're just going to reproduce what's already been there. We're going to write the same story, but this time in red instead of green. This is what happens. And I don't think that this is the kind of relationship that we want to have. I think we want to have the limitless love and the fun and the adventure, of course, depending on our individual preferences. And some people, they want an easy relationship. They don't want adventure. That's cool. But I'll just leave it like that. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I think also, or what I feel within myself is that in order to live a relationship like this, I think the base level and the fundament for that is a functioning and a healthy relationship to oneself and to one's self-worth. Because you are then coming from a place of independence and of love, unconditional love, which is really unconditional. Like, I am together with you because I have an open and full heart and I want to share that with you. And there is actually nothing I need from you in return. I want to share my love with and for you. So that, yeah. And I see how difficult that is sometimes. because it feels good to be in the presence of somebody else, and they just push the right buttons and they make you feel a certain way, and you feel something. You feel something in the heart. And on that, and that spectrum is wide, right? They can, even if they just touch the heart a little bit, it feels just good enough. It just feels good enough to say things and to maybe do one or two things here and there. But what you are describing, and also the love that I would love to cultivate for myself and the relationship that I would like to enter, that's on a whole different level. That's the kind of unconditional love that I want for my partner and I want to give her. But I know that this starts with my relationship to myself, because as soon as I start basically clinging to this touching of my heart that I receive from this other person, I start needing that as like an energy exchange. Oh damn! Then I'm entering dependency land, and it starts getting ugly. And so what I want to say is like that. I'm just feeling. I'm just. Yeah. This is just what I'm doing here. Always on the podcast. I'm always like so open, but I just. It feels very good for me also to receive love, just for anyone, right? But then to also address issues that are not mine, that are the issues from, I don't know, people around me, that requires courage and it requires a healthy self-worth, because it could mean that you repel them. It could mean that you push them away because you realize you cannot be with someone, or you cannot let somebody in your life or come closer because you individually are not yet at the point where you can live a relationship without those kind of like projections and issues that both of you bring into a relationship or any sort of co-creation, that will then turn into hurt and hurtful conversations and energies. And so you have to have a standing. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you have to have a standing and a security within your own self in order to address that and to say, hey, listen, I see that this is happening right now. And although this might push you away, I will say I'm not taking that on. This is your thing. This is not mine. What's happening here. And if that means that I end up being by myself, then so be it. But I know of many people, and I also know of past versions of myself where I wasn't as courageous, and I was like, okay, I'd rather keep the person close to me and tolerate that behavior. I also have a different level of consciousness now, but it's just like it requires this level of consciousness and it requires this sense of independency. And I'm like, no, I'm not settling for anything less. I am, because when I'm giving someone my attention and my energy and my commitment, has to be eye level. It has to be mutual. It can't be like I'm all invested and I'm all giving and working on myself like a maniac and want to not project anything, and then there's like somebody else coming in and projecting all of their shit on me, and I'm just like holding them close and not wanting to let them go, just in order to not be alone. And I think, I think I made my point, but like that was just coming up for me. What's really alive.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this is the point of co-commitment that I was talking about. This agreement to meet each other. What I do think is that sometimes we can both be here, sometimes I might be here, and then sometimes the other person might be there. Yeah. That might happen. So to me, it's also figuring out is it worth going through whatever is there right now? Like, I can also be a great mirror to you if I want to be a mirror, and I can share what I like witness. I can share what I observe, and then so to me, a really healthy relationship is also having the courage to talk about blind spots, for example, without blaming, without saying, well, this is your topic, this is not, I'm not dealing with it. It's more like, hey, so I observe this. How do we want to deal with it together?
Beautiful.
How can I support you through this?
Beautiful.
So seeing like there might be a problem, but I'm with you against a problem. But I'm still with you if you want to. And then, of course, if a person is like, fuck this, then you know this is not your person. Maybe it just needs time. Maybe he or she is ready to go into this. And so what I experienced, there was a year where I really got into Tantra, and I had some really interesting, different experiences. I also tried a polyamorous relationship for a while. Not my thing, but I'm really glad that I did try it out. What I experienced then is that every partner that I had was an exact mirror of the stage of development I was in.
Very nice. Yeah.
And now, I don't know what exactly changed. Maybe I just reached a certain level or whatever. I have a partner, and we're still like doing this little game. Sometimes I'm here, then he's there. But we are committed to doing and playing and dancing together. And to me, this is the beauty of like really sharing from your heart, being completely open with the pain, with the joy, with the desire, the fear, whatever is there. And then having someone to just witness you and being okay with it without projecting, without judging you, without blaming you, just being there, listening and saying like, okay, I got your back, whatever it is. And that takes some time, and it's work. Like, let's be honest, let's face it. Relationships need care. They need to be cared for, and this care is never ending. It is a choice you make day after day after day. And if you reach a day when you're like, I don't want to make this choice anymore, you know what to do. But there will never be a relationship where the work of care, of development is going to stop, because the evolution of life doesn't stop. And so no relationship will stop evolving, changing, you know? So it is a question of willingness, of openness, and of honesty with yourself. And I think this is something that we all still struggle with, like really being honest with ourselves, with whatever is happening, why it is happening, how we feel about it, what we need. And then, of course, having the courage to actually express it and talk about it. And open up for...
I would love to ask you what is because you were bringing it up, and I am also very curious about it. And I have my own opinion and experience with it, but I would be curious to hear yours. Where are you standing currently when it comes to commitment, and then things like open and polyamorous relationships? How can it work together, or like how do you, and on also monogamous relationships, what's your take on that?
So first of all, of course, it is an individual question. I think there are people who love loving more people. I mean, I love all the people in my life. It's just a different maybe depth of love or of sexiness or whatever I bring into this. So I love all the people in my life, but I don't want to have sex with all of them, of course. So maybe that's where we should like have a little separation. So some people, they need these kind of intertwined relationships and they're happy with it. What I have experienced is it is exhausting. To me, it was exhausting because I was in love with two men. I was trying to have a relationship with two men so this is getting really interesting. So the one of my lovers also had a second girlfriend, who also had a second boyfriend, who also again had another girlfriend. So if you take this chain, right, I was in relationship with like 8 people, and that is just like I don't know. It was amazing. It was an adventure. I learned a lot, but I just learned that it was draining my energy. I felt like I was split into so many parts, and there was always somebody who could get hurt by what I was doing. And what I also came to realize, and this is my very individual perspective. It's really important to point this out because I don't think this is true for everybody. But for the relationship that I have experienced this way, it was a fear of really committing yourself into relationship. This is why there's always like just a half yes here and maybe a quarter yes there, but I still want to have my lovers just for a night. And it was hard to really work with it because there were so many aspects that wanted to be looked at, and it got messy, it got chaotic. And maybe this is your life's purpose, maybe this is why you're here, because this is what you want to do. Then perfect, go into this, experience it fully. What I have learned now that I'm in this co-committed monogamous relationship is that the better I get to know him, the deeper we meet, the more intimate we get, the more growth actually happens, and and this is what is the most important to me, the safer I feel and the more I open my heart. And I think that the real work starts when the struggles, they come up, the topics come up, there's the first fight or whatever. This is sometimes where people are like, oh, I don't want this, or I need a new lover, whatever. But this is a momentum where you can grow together. And to me, this is something that is easier and at the same time harder if you're just with one partner, because there's no distraction. There's no, okay, I'm tired of you, I'm going to see the other person because I need a new adventure. The tough part is to taking the adventure and bring it into the relationship that you are in rather than seeking it outside, because the level of depth and intimacy that you have grown with this person will need some time and care and investment there. So in the end, I think it is just a question of how, where, and with whom do I want to spend my energy. And that is different to everybody. To me, I have learned that I have so many great things I want to do in this life. I have so many crazy ideas and projects and things that I want to share. I don't want to share myself and my love in terms of intimate sexual relationships with too many people at the same time. It's confusing, it's hurtful, and this is where I'm at right now. And it might change in 2 years again, I don't know. But right now I'm really happy having just one partner and going deeper and deeper week after week and revealing all the hidden layers that feel safe to be brought up now, because we are so close and we are so honest and we are trying to really show ourselves as we are, with the good and the bad. Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. I very much resonate with that. Yeah. It's like you say, like we discussed, those are projectors. Just see what we see, and we attract what we attract. What you put out is what you get back, and the kind of relationship and the kind of energy that you put out is the kind of frequency that you get mirrored back in the kind of relationships you enter. And it is clear from somebody who now spent nearly 2 hours with you um, that you reach a certain level of consciousness where it is only, and I arrive at a similar avenue, that this sacred union is so, it can't be matched with multiple partners. I really changed my view here, big time. I came from a completely different perspective as well, and thought that love is more than just a cup. It's just like once it's full, it's full. And why can I only share it with one person? I can have love for this person, and I can have love for this person. Why does that? But it's really also this commitment, this issue. This is like an issue that I have inside of me, and that's why I want to find constructs and models around me that facilitate that, and that justify that wound that I don't want to look at. But this is not the kind of man I want to be, honestly. It's just, that's Peter Pan. That's, that's an older version. Very beautiful, and that's very, very nice. It goes also a little bit against the spiritual bubble, and I like that. I think you can be all involved in very new age philosophies and techniques, and go to events and everything, but I don't know, when it comes to relationships, it doesn't have to be all modern and quote unquote modern, and you have to do all the latest trends. Sometimes you just really have to tune into yourself, and then you realize, okay, actually, I got a little bit off track here. All I want is really this sacred union and this commitment, and this to be seen, heard, and understood by one person at a very deep level. It's very beautiful. Slowly towards the finishing line, I would love to, because you were bringing it up, that you and it was emanating from your presence and from your whole being and from your body language and your voice, that there are like things that you are excited about and that you want to bring into the world and that you want to do and create. And I would just open up the space to have you share some of that. Like, what are you excited about? What do you want to bring? What are you working on? What excites you?
Well, sometimes I think too many things, which is a beautiful, beautiful part of me. It just takes some consciousness and navigation skills throughout myself, because sometimes I can get lost in my euphoria and my burning flame for so many things. And this week it might be ceramics. yeah. And then next week it's house gardening, and then in 2 weeks I'm going to immigrate to India or whatever. So I mean, my work and my projects are changing with me. So what I know is I love writing, and I'm going to publish books. Like, people actually have asked me so many times to like write a proper book, and sometimes I'm just like, yeah, but what do I write about? Because I'm not a novelist. I'm not going to tell stories of imaginary people. I'm more the real life storyteller. But there will be books. I know this, and they are going to get birthed out of me once I'm ready for it. So, like, write my name down. One day you will find my book in the bookstore. My books. There will be books. Plural, yes. I just love words. I love writing and channeling, whatever is there. I'm always trying to look for the common thread that is bringing it all together. And to me, it's really experiencing love and the divine. And my biggest vision so far, and I'm not the only one with this. I know there's so many people having this, but is to actually create a space of living, loving, working, experiencing life together. So it will be some new age retreat space, farm, co-living, co-working, whatever it is. Where you can go and you can learn Tantra and Theta Healing. You can go on vacation or whatever. It will be a big, big, big space. I don't know where it is yet. So, which is why for now I bought a van and I'm going to start traveling soon. And I'm probably going to visit places and get inspired. And see and learn from the successful projects to then make something out of it by myself. I love that we talked about the whole relationship topic, because to me, this is one of the greatest areas in life for change, for growth, for love. And I desperately want to work with couples, being it one-on-two coachings and retreats and programs. I think if we start to change our daily habits and bring consciousness into the relationships, and they can be the subtlest things like conscious touch or foot massage, or I don't know, 10 minutes of open sharing. Like, they don't have to be the big things. People always think like they have to change everything. Often it's the tiniest steps that we make, but we need inspiration for that. We need to get inspired. So I just want to create a space of inspiration where people go, they soak up all the energy, and they leave and they are changed. And they have remembered who they actually are and what they are capable of, which is basically everything. We are fucking goddesses and gods in human flesh and body. And I think whatever I do is aiming at this purpose, so people can remember how sacred they are, how beautiful they are, how amazing they are. And now that I'm talking about it, it doesn't really matter what I do as long as they feel this. It doesn't matter. It can be a painting class or Theta Healing or yoga. As long as they leave and have this feeling, I'm a happy person. Yeah. I just want people to know how great they are, because they are, even if they are shitty sometimes, if they do bad things, if they have done bad things. It doesn't change anything about what is here, about the essence. And I just want to spread this awareness for the love and the divinity that we have if we really tune in. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess.
Well, you're on a good way. You're on a good way.
Yeah, and that's an important message. I am on a way myself. You know, there's also this saying of healer, heal yourself. Like, I might be a healer or a writer or whatever, but I'm just a human being evolving and changing. I'm on a path, and this path is never ending. And I'm okay with this. And I'm just enjoying the sight and the little stops here and there and everything in between, you know? Yeah.
What are you proud of?
It is a feeling I'm trying to explain. It is, so I see myself holding this little version of myself that was already like so full of wonders and miracles, and that would believe in so many amazing things, and that at some point lost this faith and this strength. And now there's this tiny small version of me, and there's my higher self, and somewhere in between I am, and I'm holding hands with both of them, and I guess I'm proud that I can lean in to the divine guidance that I can trust, and that even when life is really shitty, and life has been very shitty for me the past year as well, that I'm still so full of trust and love and light and joy and positivity. And I guess that I have remembered how powerful I am and can be, even if people told me differently. And that I'm just leading this crazy life that is nothing that people have experienced before, that irritates people sometimes, that have them question their lives. I like that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Very beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a wonderful conversation, and my heart is full. There's few things in life, I have to say, for me that I go into and I get out with more than I got in with. And those conversations, just now with you as well, are one of those examples where I leave with so much more than I got in with. So I want to thank you for that. I think it's very powerful what you're doing, the work that you bring to the world, and I wish you all of love and light for the future endeavors. I know it's going to be beautiful, like you say, you know. The fundament is there, and with whatever way it manifests.
Thank you. I don't have much to add here. It was marvelous speaking with you, full of shadows and light and everything in between, and I had a really good time, and I'm very curious to see what our conversation is doing with people to people. Very excited to hear some feedback after this, and I'm very sure we're going to meet soon again. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, you gotta come to the island maybe.
It's not that far away, so why not? Yeah, we could make that happen.